welcome to the show after the show, which I have to say is my favorite part, because we'll get to ask anything and you have to answer us. So I wanted to start, Ken, with what kind of geek are you really? So for instance, for me, for The Big Bang Theory, if you were a character on The Big Bang Theory, which one would you be?
Wow. I don't know. I think all of those guys are levels above, I think, my my level of total obsession. But, I mean, I used to spend time actually hand-drawing maps for playing Dungeons & Dragons sessions, and I've memorized lines from the Tolkien novels and things like that. So I think I have a reasonable geek cred, yeah.
So which one? Leonard? Because you're married to Penny, right?
There you go. That's absolutely. Whichever one actually gets married, yeah.
No, there you go. How did it take you to get into the books? Because that's a longer process to write a book, I would think, than writing a blog post.
It was pretty intense the first go around. It was about we put together a proposal. So I had a list of ideas for these projects. Some of them half-baked, some of them, we'd written something on the blog before, and then through a literary agent, they went out, found a publisher that was interested, and had about 9 or 10 months to write the first one. What then got crazier was when the first one did as well as it did, the publisher came back and said, all right, we want number 2. We want to get it out in, within a much shorter time frame because they wanted to build off the first one. Start working on number 2, and they said, we decided we want a third one as well. And so that,
it's like having kids.
It really was. And that process of over those 2 years, I wrote 3 books in 2 years, and it was, most of the time it was like, okay, family's had dinner, great, Dad's out to the garage to go work on his book.
Yeah. So how many hours? So what was your ratio between working on your day job and working on the book?
I mean, it got close to pretty equal.
Yeah, I would imagine.
50 hours at work, and then every night 3 or 4 hours, and half the weekend at least. It got to be pretty intense.
Where were you when you found out that you hit the New York Times bestseller list?
Oh my goodness! I think I was probably at work, and I literally had to just sort of like sit in my cubicle and go. But at a certain point, there was one day I'd gotten the email because the publisher actually knew before it was going to get published that it was going to hit the list, and we were driving back home from my in-laws, which is about a 3-hour drive, and we stopped at the Starbucks halfway in between, and they had New York Times on a thing, so pulled the New York Times thing out and found it in the New York Times.
Chills.
It was so
That's
neat.
What are your kids like, Ken? Are they wanting to also follow in your footsteps?
No. My oldest son is an extremely passionate bowler, which has gotten us to the point where this summer we are totally energized to take him to 2 separate national youth tournaments, which is going to mean a lot of travel. We have to go up to Buffalo and down to Fort Lauderdale this summer.
Wow.
But you find your kid finds something that they are so passionate about that they willingly want to practice every day. He wants us to take him to the bowling alley so he can practice every day. And it's like you have to do everything you can to encourage that, because we always say the best thing is to find something, a job that you can do that is something that you enjoy, so it doesn't feel as much like work. If you can find a job that happens to be your passion, that's fantastic. My son is so passionate about bowling. He's 15 now. He's getting ready to start thinking about going to college. He wants to find a college that has a bowling team. He wants to potentially become a professional bowler or go through the steps where he will have bowling be part of his life. And you can't damp that down. You have to encourage that kind of thing.
Absolutely. You haven't built him one in the backyard with all your projects?
Not yet. We've priced it out and then said no. And
bocce, maybe. That'll be as close as you'll get.
On the other hand, it would be fun to do that, but bowling is actually is a social sport. So he's made so many friends through the leagues that he's been on and so forth. And it's interesting because it's a team sport in many cases. When tournaments, you're either individual, one-on-one, or you're in a group and playing team sports. It really helps that way.
That's so cool. Oh, and the other was the tethered. I wanted to talk to you about the science behind the tethered camera balloon. I'm totally butchering the name.
Yeah. Well, no, that was a random idea I had for one of the projects in one of the books. Was we'd seen so many instances of like college teams or whatever getting weather balloons and putting together these packages to send a weather balloon with a camera up into the low atmosphere. And it's like, I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't have the time or money to pull that off in a weekend. It's a little more involved. So instead, I figured out you get a tank of helium and some party balloons and a cheap, the old USB video cameras, and just do it with a kite string and do it in the field in your backyard. And I threw it together with some help, and the boys and I, we took it out. We happened to live right on the junior high school. We took it out in the field one weekend, and we were able to send it up and just get these amazing, you just get this video. You're looking over your neighborhood and seeing it with a totally different perspective.
Well, and trying to figure out the science behind how much helium you needed.
That's
right?
Had to sit down and actually pencil out, look up online, go to Wikipedia, what is the lifting capacity per volume for that, figuring out how many, how big can I blow up these balloons, how much helium can I get in them, and so forth. Figuring out that Mylar balloons are actually better than plastic balloons because Mylar is lighter for its surface area, but they're more expensive. So how do you balance the cost? And all that sort of thing. And of course now there's a global helium shortage. So how much longer can we do it?
There you go. Oh my goodness.
My question is for Ken. Do you touch base on traditional things that kids and dads do, like model railroading and building ships and stuff?
It's a little bit more trying to update those, or what I like to say is hack things. Is take things that you might already have and use them in new ways. So that was the example with the RC cars and stuff. I did model trains when I was a kid and had a ton of fun with them, and those are the same kind of hobbies that you can have a great time with your kids now. And even the technology for model trains has come so far. You can run your model train board off of your phone now. Right. So those are all sorts of wonderful things. The books themselves, there's projects with kites, but it's doing new and crazy stuff with kites, and so that's what I like to find.
Yes. Hi. What other kinds of, if you can think of all the kinds of projects that are in the Mad Scientist book?
Oh, the Mad Science books. Well, it was definitely about finding things that had a scientific process to them, and giving also even having a section where the kids can read the science part of it, but here's a paragraph that's just for parents to let the parents know what the results should be, just so you can keep an eye on what but don't spoil it for the kids and let them know.
So they don't blow down
There's a
the
project
house.
in there. One of the most interesting scientific projects in there is that you can literally create a fog box where you can see nuclear. You can see the particles coming off of stuff. You can see, there is radiation all about us, and there are isotopes that are going through decay all around us at all times. You could actually build this little box with a little bit of dry ice in it, put a banana in there, and if you have like black light or low lights going up there, literally see there are radioactive elements in bananas, the potassium isotopes, and you can see the particles going boosh, boosh, yeah.
If there's one thing that you wanted dads and moms to take away from the show tonight, what would that be, Ken?
Be a partner in raising your kids. And technology can be a big part of that, but it comes down to moms and dads communicating and parents and kids communicating and being some kind of team and making decisions together.
Yes.